Hello friends, welcome back to the Tech Server Global channel. Hope you are doing well. So this is the third video on our Ansible series. In first two videos we have seen the introduction part and the how we can set up Ansible service or Ansible node on Ubuntu based machine, and how can we connect one client using SSH key. So today we are going to learn about Ansible inventory file. How can we set up a Ansible client using password? So this is our structure. In this structure I have set up three machine Ansible node. As it is, I have set up Ansible service and Ansible module. Second, I set up only operating system by setting up the username. By default, root users is already been there with administrator, or we can say the root rights. And as we are using Ubuntu operating system from Amazon EC2, so by default Ubuntu user is pre-configured with the user. Also in the machine, in client machine, I have set up three things. First, user, as I mentioned. Second thing, I enable root user login properties from the sshd_config file. And the third thing, permit user with root user, and permit user with password authentication. So three things I have enabled. First, the username password. Second, root user to log in from the external machine. And the third, I have just restart the SSH service. So now let me take a console of Ansible node. So this is my Ansible node where I just set up the Ansible, as we already seen in the last video. So let me navigate to default directory of the Ansible, which is /etc. And here you can see, for testing purpose, I just create this inventory.txt file. I'm just removing file. So now let me clear the screen, and I'm just run the ls-lh. So here we can see host file. Hostess file, it's a default file where we can say that last time when we set up one machine, we use hostess file and put one alias name of the machine called web server and the machine IP address. So in this example, I am going to create a new inventory file, or we can say the additional inventory file other than the hostess file. Here, if I create an additional hostess file, in that case, I need to define that particular inventory file with command module. For example, if I run in last video, if I run the command called ansible-m ping, just to validate whether the machine being communicated or not, here I need to run ansible-m ping module and then run the -i and inventory file path. So additionally, if you want to use additionally external inventory file, you need to define each and every time. But if you want to use default, you don't need to be defined any inventory file. So you can use hostess file. Okay, so let me create one file, inventory.txt. You can put inventory.txt or ini or YAML file. So I'm just for basic information, I'm just using inventory.txt. Now I'm just copying the content. This is my default content, and let me explain more on same. So first, this is the alias of the machine. Whether you can alias is considered as identification of the machine, whether you can choose web server or database or application or anything, host 1, any name that you want to, human identification name, you can put here. Second is Ansible underscore host. This parameter is used to identify the IP address of the machine. So let me change the IP address. I'm just choose client 1 machine first. This is my private IP address. Either you can use private or public, but for quick communication, I'm just going to use private IP address. Now Ansible underscore SSH underscore password. So as far as in diagram, I just mentioned over here, I just set a root credential with this password p@SSW0RD123. In last example, we used SSH key. So in this scenario, I'm just use password. Then Ansible underscore connection. Connection being enabled using protocol SSH protocol. Ansible underscore port number is 22. If you have custom port, you can define it here. And last, Ansible user. If you don't define user, Ansible underscore user, by default user being defined as root user. For example, if I remove this, let me remove and save this. Let me run the command Ansible -m ping the alias name of the server, web server, and -i and inventory. For example, if I remove the -i and inventory and just enter the this command, let's see what's the output. Here you got a warning that provided host list is empty and only local host is available. So by default, it considered hostess file as a default host inventory file. So if you have external inventory file, then you need to define using inventory.txt. Here we are getting some error like using SSH password instead of key is not possible because this checking and enable SSH pass is not support. Let's add this host fingerprint known host to manage this. So by default, there is one option which we need to define under ansible.config to enable password authentication instead of the key based authentication. So to enable, I need to define for example, if you face this error while communicate using password authentication, there is one setting, or we can say the one configuration we need to enable on ansible.configuration, because Ansible is not by default support the password based authentication, so we need to enable it. So let me enable. Here we have the file cfg. Let me open the file and just navigate to the last line, or if the configuration is having the multiple things, they need to identify this host underscore key checking is equals to false. So every time it's not trying to identify the host key, because we have SSH key under the folder called .ssh file known underscore keys. So where it actually identified whether the host key file being added or not. So I'm just disable this from the ansible.cfg. So every time it's not trying to find host key file from the default location. And if you don't know the particular path, you just navigate to your home directory and path is there. There is no such file called known underscore host. If the file is present, you can validate key over there. Okay, now let me navigate to directory, and again I'm just running Ansible -mping web server and -i inventory.txt. So here we can see ping is response with pong, so that means that particular response is valid. Now in this scenario in diagram, you can see that there is one more instance, one more machine, which is called Ansible client 2, and where I just set the password with two more character like 45, capital P @SSWORD12345. So first we are adding that particular username thing. Ansible_user. So if you have user other than root, you need to define. If you don't have, if you have root user, then you don't require to set Ansible_user. But for base practice, it is good to define. Now let me add one more line. Let me copy. I'm just changing the name of the alias for second machine to like data DB server. Now need to change the private IP of the machine. So machine will be client 2. Private IP is this 2.146. Ansible SSH pass capital P @SSWORD12345. Okay, let's see if I forget to add password properly. Let's see if it is working or not. Ansible connection is SSH, port number is 22, and root username is root. So I'm not going to do the thing. Now let me ping DB server. It shows an error, invalid incorrect password, warning permanently added, but password is incorrect. So let me change the file, and I'm just adding two things. So if you put wrong password, then also it create an issue. Let me run this command. Ansible -mping db server -i inventory.txt. Okay, now the new thing. Next thing, if I want to ping all the machine instead of DB server and the web server, let me ping all. So it will ping both the machine. Now let me open the inventory again. For example, if you have multiple web server, how can you group them? So simply you can just put a bracket called square bracket, and use the name of the alias, the group name of the alias group. Like for example, if you have multiple web server 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you have multiple DB server, so you can create entries like this. So under this I can add more web server 1, Ansible host, something like this. So using this bracket, you can define a group of alias. So now I'm just adding a group of alias for web and DB. So let me Ansible. I'm just running same command, ping, and let me run only web. Let's see if it is, sorry, ping and web. Okay, and now let's ping to DB as well. Okay, so in this way you can create a group alias for multiple instances. Now if you have multiple inventory and if you want to combine multiple group, web, DB, so let me add the thing I bracket, for example, name of the, let me say tech server global colon. I need to define children. I need to define tech server global, a group name of the multiple alias group, and put the name like web db. So if I ping to tech server global, it will ping to web, it will ping to db, and individually web is having multiple web server and individual db group is having multiple db server. Let me say tech server global. Some spelling mistake is there, children, yes. There is spelling mistake with children, so let me change. Children. Okay, so you can create multiple group for multiple aliases as well. So this is the example of inventory file. So we can just conclude this video over here. Kindly share your input and your valuable feedback. If you find something wrong with my teaching method or anything, you can just please share that particular comment on my YouTube channel. Kindly subscribe the channel, and we'll release more and more videos on Ansibles and the more different technologies relevant to DevOps. Stay tuned with this channel. Thank you very much.